video games that I studied during my PhD thesis a while ago, back in 2012. And well, I want to talk about the main narrative of the video game one more time. So I'll just summarize before I begin the gameplay what's going on in this video. And first of all, let's figure out the narrative we are talking about is the narrative of the zombie apocalypse. So that means a pandemic narrative. And of course, we can make many parallels to our world today because in today's society, we have the coronavirus. And basically, a year ago, in 2019, there was this video game and many others out there. Okay, so we are talking about movies, books, and so forth that had this narrative. And we can make a parallel between our today's reality and, oh, there was this book or there was that movie a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. How did they know? That's the first question that we'll have. How did they know this will happen? And I'm not implying there is a connection between such narratives and today's society because I have no proof for that. Basically, there are things that we can imagine and this might happen one day or another. That doesn't mean there is a causality between these elements. So, for example, I might predict that like tomorrow it will rain. That doesn't mean that I cause the rain tomorrow. Or if I predict that tomorrow it will rain, that doesn't mean I have a connection with somebody who controls the weather, which is God or whatever, it's some entity. So I'm quite, I try to quite establish my position here because talking about conspiracy theories in general is an issue that is so controversial, and in a way it is also dangerous to people, to the human mind. Why is it dangerous? How is it dangerous? First of all, because a conspiracy theory is a narrative that actually challenges your view of reality. So I'm not saying that we actually live in reality, like our today version, the story that we tell ourselves. I'm not saying this is the reality because even science claims that we don't have access to reality. What we have is bits of information, and from these bits of information, we form our own inner world and we perceive reality according to this. And what does that mean? That means that it is impossible. And we as a species, we couldn't have evolved without being connected to this kind of a lying typology. So basically, lying or believing in fantasies in a way. Like, I'm not saying fantasy that something is totally non-real. There is some reality in the experience of what we perceive or what we think and so forth, but it's not the totality of the reality. It doesn't explain everything and so forth. Perhaps reality is even non-human in the sense that it doesn't have these concerns. So what we have now, what we experience now is the human experience, and that's quite limited. Out there, there's something that we cannot actually understand. Of course, this is important for Resident Evil franchise and survival horror video games in general. Why is this important? When I try to understand the main narrative and the paradox and everything. Why is this important and why something else is less important? Why is this video games that I'm interested in and not other video games? Well, because I like these video games. But aside this fact, this is a personal criteria, right? So I like these video games. I will just continue to play them. So I'm doing my research because I like them. But there are reasons why I like them, and I'm not saying that other video games are not cool. You can play them, but among all these video games, I believe that survival horror video games emphasizes some cultural level that involves a few elements that I particularly enjoy to get information about. And one of them, of course, is philosophy. The other one is art, and some particular views of art. And aside this is Gothic literature. I like the eerie atmosphere. I like the mystery that is suggested by such video games, and I believe this the survival horror the survival horror video games is a genre that actually allows the player to experience a certain form of sublime through terror. And you can just read Immanuel Kant or other authors who wrote about the sublime. What is the sublime? What is the feeling the sublime? And how can terror can build the suspense that will build the tension that will actually gives you that kind of struggle, but curiosity. That's like, is this feeling of rejection? I want to run away from this because it might be scary or shocking and so forth. But then is the curiosity that drives you in. So is this inner conflict between what you like, what you want to find out, and the dangers out there, right? And there are a few obstacles to jump above. Okay, so these obstacles, these struggles that you have to overpass. Okay, so what are they? First of all, you have the game, the difficulty of the game, right? So you have to shoot the zombies, find the inner clues, and so forth. But throughout all these things, there is a tension built up by the fact that these images in themselves, they have some certain type of power because they challenge our everyday conception of our life. Okay, so usually we don't see rotten corpses moving there, and they don't touch you. If something is rotten meat or something that has worms inside, if somebody wants to bite you, if somebody walks like that and tries to touch you, instinctively we move away. So what does that mean? That means that we don't want to be touched by such creatures. And what does it mean? It means that we avoid the touch, and we feel that the touch from a diseased animal or something like that in real life, such touch is disgusting and also dangerous. Because look at coronavirus. We wore all these masks, right? Why? Because even the breath, the touch of somebody else's air can be dangerous. Okay, so that can also be disgusting and can lead to sickness and death. So we try as living beings to avoid all that. And that's quite simple. It's quite easy to understand. But aside this, what we have here is the fact that you bring all these things from the real life and you put them there into the game, and also you connect this particular aspect with a narrative, like what's happening. There is somebody guilty about the pandemics. Okay, in the game there is an entity who's guilty, and this entity is responsible for a conspiracy that transformed the whole society into a hellish nightmare. Okay, so we have this conspiracy that goes on there. Now, the fact that those similarities with real life are there in the game. Okay, so we have to deal with what we call the conspiracy theory. Now, there are many conspiracies out there in the world, and if they challenge the view of reality of people who are working for a company or who are doing this or that job, okay, and they believe in things, okay, believing in things, even if these things are lies, they offer some types of comfort, so as long as things run peacefully in a certain type of pace and a rhythm, people don't feel like changing their views, and usually they just don't want to, so they just don't mind conspiracy theories. What's going on? When something changes, when something doesn't work the way they want, or something is not the way it used to be anymore, instinctively, like some people, maybe not all, but they try to look for causes. Why is this happening? Okay, so this is the place, this is a spot from where a conspiracy theory arises. Okay, it's this question about why something happens. Why? So why something happens also brings a who, a what, right? So what does it mean? It means that, well, there is somebody there that did this because of a reason, right? Or, well, maybe there is no, if there isn't a who, there is a what, right? It was too hot, so the forest caught fire. So nobody did that. It was an accident, right? So there is no human consciousness that have this intention to damage the forest or whatever. I just gave an example. So basically, there are many other examples I can give, but what is important regarding these explanations that are given by the conspiracy theories is the fact that they cannot be proven. In our society, like in the 20th century, there were a few like religious conspiracies that they went quite away from the usual formal narrative. Okay, so they implied there were some groups who actually committed suicide because they believed that mass suicide. I'm not kidding. There were some aliens that would come and rescue them or something like that. All right, so you can just Google that and you can find many weird stories. So I believe this is a quite a challenging ground because on the one hand you have the main narrative that doesn't function anymore. And we can see this in times of crisis, right? So there is a political shift, there is a global shift right now, there is something going on. So we have superpowers that change the way they interact with each other. So at the time of change, of course, maybe the main narrative will change too. So you won't have the same thing that you had before. So you have to adapt and so forth. And this is when conspiracy theories pop up and they present themselves as answers to what's going on, answers to who's guilty for this, answers to questions like what's real, what's the purpose of this. So basically they come up as counterparts that try to challenge the main narrative as the main narrative dies or changes slowly. So we live in a time of change, that's true, but where does it go? Well, we have the conspiracy theories that suggest something, and then we have other narratives that involve, they don't involve conspiracies and so forth. Well, I'm only talking about this because apocalypse, the end of the world, it's one of the main themes that are present in the conspiracy theories. Okay, so one of the issues that, because I started reading, I'm not actually an expert in this field. I'm learning things and I try to think them. Maybe I'm wrong. I will just correct myself if I come up with a wrong conclusion. So basically, this is a process of learning. I'm trying to I'm trying not to play the smart ass here who, oh, I know it all, I'm gonna tell you this and that. No, I just try to think, and while thinking, see where it goes. I don't have answers. I just try to interpret the game, go with the hermeneutics, and see where it goes. Okay, and maybe I'll come up with an idea that I'll change tomorrow and so forth. It's just like the scientific process should be, right? Because this is what science does. Comes up with theories, and then new theories pop up that demolish the old ones, and a new theory will come up that will demolish the old one, and so forth. Okay, so basically, while reading about the conspiracy theories, I realized that, okay, a conspiracy theory is a theory that talks about a conspiracy. What is a conspiracy? Well, it's a secret plot between two entities or more than two. Think about Julius Caesar, okay? There was a conspiracy against Julius Caesar. They killed him, so it worked. Okay, we know about it, all right? So it was partially secret. It didn't need to be secret anymore. For a time being, it was secret, but after that, it needn't be secret after a while, right? So Julius Caesar was killed, he was lied, he was betrayed. So we have this idea close to conspiracy, betrayal, and then you can think about this even in the narrative of Jesus. Okay, there is a plot in Christianism, execution of Jesus Christ, because you might think like, yeah, it was a conspiracy between Judas and the I forgot their names, Anna and those who sent the guards to capture Jesus, right? So there was a conspiracy. They paid Judas to betray Jesus, right? So we have a conspiracy there, a secret plot against Jesus. And well, we can think of other examples of they're present in fairy tales as well, and so forth. And this type of structures, narrative structure, when a good person, a genuine good person, is framed by other people and something bad happens to them, right? So that's the idea of a conspiracy. Well, it can be a conspiracy. So usually is that some people try to change something. Those people don't have the power, but because they cannot face the power of an institution or of a person directly, they will try to use different means. Okay, so soft power, so-called means of that imply adding more people silently and somehow working against that person and overthrowing it, and then pretend that nothing happened, that this was a natural course. But they did this on purpose. They tried to to work somebody from behind, and while doing those things, it's more like gaslighting in psychology. It's like somebody is doing, but that can be just one individual. In this sense, a conspiracy implies a group of persons or a society, more or less. Usually, this is secret because, well, if the authority, so to speak, if the authority finds out about what these people are trying to plot against the authority, well, the authority has a means to stop them. That's why the conspiracy theories should be secret. And in today's narrative, we do actually have a conspiracy theory that they are conspiracies, so they can be real. Think about terrorist attacks and so forth. So they are real stuff, right? So they happen. There are people crazy out there who can go and do stuff, and there are people who feel like they have the right to do that because they were hurt or like something bad happened to them, and they just had enough, and maybe they just get around. Some of them will do something that will destroy something else, for example. All right, so there are different reasons why people would do such a thing. Now, what's going on with the Raccoon police station here in front of us and Raccoon City encompassing all these things is what the dialect is between the seen and the unseen. And why am I talking about that? Well, Raccoon is a fictional city. Supposedly in the United States, whether it is debatable on the Resident Evil forums, but Raccoon, it is. You can see the American flag there, so it symbolizes one of the cities from the United States of America. And there is something else here. Why did I say that dialect is between the seen and the unseen? Because here you can see the institution that represents somehow order. Everything doesn't happen by chance in the police station here. It's where the justice is. It's actually, we will uncover, just like an onion, it has layers and layers of meaning. Now, why would this happen here in the narrative of Resident Evil? We will understand after we dig in the game's motive. So what we are faced with, it's the zombie apocalypse. So I come back to the thing that actually conspiracy theory applied in this universe doesn't go just like an isolated attack. Like some people, they try to do something against a particular person. No, like this goes global. Okay, so the Raccoon City is actually a global threat. More or less just like the coronavirus pandemics. Okay, this is a global threat. This is something that doesn't stop here, and as we will see in the later episodes of the genre, the survival horror video genre of Resident Evil, this organization called the Illuminati, it has all those conspiracy theories that backs it up. Backs up its narrative, driven from the real conspiracy theories that present themselves as challenges for our main. Well, I wouldn't say this is one narrative, but basically it's the constructing narrative that the media generally agrees and science agrees and all the things like the main narrative of what the world is and what we are and so forth, which is a positivist narrative, right? So it's a scientific narrative, and according why? Because today in our today's society, it is science that brings us the authority about the truth. I'm not saying because it is. There's also this scientific field that is brought here because this Illuminati, they deal into experiments. They challenge the limits of the science, but they go over the borders traced by the institution of the main narrative. Okay, so you may think of this story, you may think about the Resident Evil story as a conspiracy. Yeah, it is a conspiracy in the sense that it implies a secret organization, a secret group that does this and that and that and that in order to take control upon the world. Here we have something that we can find in other conspiracy theories out there in the world. All right, so then we have this scientific area that actually in the main narrative of our today's culture, right, it is the holder of truth. What brings us truth? It is science. Okay, some of us are Christians, some of us are Jewish, some of us are Muslims, some of us are Buddhist, some of us are and so forth. Okay, there is the religious aspect or the spiritual aspect, Hindu, many religions. Okay, so there is also the spiritual aspect that, and people think like those people. Oh, actually, it is God that brings us reality, right? So the main source it's non-material, it's consciousness or so forth. So there are debates about this. They also challenge the main authority, but of science. But related to the truth, science has limits, and where these limits stop, they communicate. There is a debate either if this is true or not, because all the religions and spiritual movements and so forth, they don't actually have scientific proofs, and it is still the scientific narrative that has the approval of society regarding what is true or not, what is false. Okay, what is real or not. So this is a battle. It is a battle, and the prize. It is a battle between conspiracy theories, religions, and other narratives out there, including science, about what is true. So basically, it's a battle for the people's beliefs about reality. So it is, of course, they all present scenarios and so forth. And after all, if they are honest to themselves, and it isn't authority that they want to impose, but it is actually the genuine pursuit of the truth. They realize that the science realize that actually they cannot find that kind of thing ultimately. They can only uncover layers and layers by using this method. Okay, and they will uncover some certain parts, knowing that actually their findings, the scientific findings, are limited, so they cannot actually offer, universal cure, the Panaceum Universalis, right? So that's a chimera. It should be there because people should try to find that. This is what drives you there, but the pursuit is eternal. It's never ending. So why am I saying this? Why is this so important? It is important because the conspiracy theory used in Raccoon City, I'm just talking about the city. This is the theoretical background that just plays ping pong with my neurons. So why is this important here? It's important because the universe of Resident Evil proposes that actually this organization of Illuminati and so forth takes a little bit from science, a little bit from religion, a little bit from other, like, think about Silent Hill, which is the same, I would say the same structure as Resident Evil, except that they have more ghosts there. And it's not the zombies. No? The whole idea is not about zombies, it's about ghosts, right? It's about ghosts and rituals more than bioengineering. So Resident Evil is more scientific, more into pharmaceuticals, and the Silent Hill is more eerie and more ghostly and more spiritual, if you want this kind of term. Okay, so it goes more into the occult. But the occult is here also present in Resident Evil narrative, and we have these things with the Illuminati and the symbols used, driven from the real narrative, and actually the real conspiracies out there. They also delve into this mixture between science and religion and mythology. So they connect these kind of things together in order to suggest there is something else. So what's interesting, what I found is this guy's theory about the. I have to read more about it. I'm not sure if I can bring all the conclusions only by inferring on what I read before, but the idea is that actually a conspiracy theorist is not the guy that tries to convince you about the truth of the conspiracy. What they put on the table is the inconsistencies of the main narrative that people believe in. So basically they try to make people realize, look dude, like what you're believing is not true, and then the truth will be self-evident. So this is it's like, okay, it's like if you believe that the earth is round, well, it's not true. And then I'm not saying the earth is flat, I'm just using this as an example. So let's try to think about the flat earthers and all the rest of the people, the scientific communities and so forth. So people who think that the earth is flat, they try to challenge your opinion about what you really believe. Okay, so they challenge your beliefs in the fact that the earth is round. But how? Usually people just accept the narrative they are told. They don't think a lot, like, okay, the earth is round, so okay, so right. Maybe it's sometimes they think, sometimes they not. But what I do is like how do you know the earth is round? And there are evidences about, when you go to the beach and you see the sea, and then there's a boat that comes up. This is the classic example, and you're gonna see the upper part coming first, and then the rest of the body. And this is possible because the earth is just like a globe, right? Okay, just think about this. You're at the beach here, by your boat, right? So, okay, and you gotta see the upper part first. Why is this happening? Because as the boat moves towards you, okay, it will just follow the shape of the earth, right? And the water that is there will also have the same shape, which is the round shape, right? So, okay, I can understand the earth is round. Well, they actually challenge this, and they tell you like, this is not true because this and that. And I don't remember all the arguments about the flat earth theory, but the main point is like, because that belief is not true, somehow they propose their version of reality as being self-evident. Like, it's quite obvious, okay, but this is a lie, then this is true. This is where I tend to differ. Okay, how do I know? Okay, let's just say that, well, yeah, I agree with the fact that we live in lies, but why would this version, why would this narrative be better than the other one? That's the question, okay? Well, in this case, the conspiracy theory tries to, from the Raccoon City and Illuminati theory here in Resident Evil narrative, tries to unfold and explain that the pandemics happens because of this group, a called secret group that are actually aliens, not even human beings, and they did through all kind of means in secrecy. They tried to manipulate it, and finally they could control the world. And they are also the ones involved into military. They are the ones involved into pharmaceutical industries. They are also involved everywhere where the public basically doesn't have access to. Okay, so it is this play that happens behind the curtains. The public doesn't have it's surrounded by unknown and mystery where the public doesn't have access to. So the game actually represents a version of answering the questions that people generally have in their normal lives. Okay, so as individuals, we are limited. Our knowledge is limited. We cannot, we may try, but we cannot. We cannot answer all the questions out there. Now, conspiracy theories know this. Okay, conspiracy theories know this. And the narrative of this game that has this conspiracy theory at its core, okay, the zombie apocalypse and the Illuminati and pharmaceutical industry and so forth, plays along the same tune. Okay, so because you don't have access to such information, okay, they picked up those layers of reality where people still wonder about what is true reality. Is it ethical or not ethical to modify the human genes, and what will we become? Okay, so this is exactly like science fiction in a way, because well, it's also mixed with science fiction. We can mix them together. It's all right. So science fiction is science plus inquiring. Okay, science, the greatest level of science, and when you reach the limit, you start imagining things and start to imagine new possibilities, what will come, what may not, right? So the conspiracy theory goes there. Okay, what will happen if? And they give a version of that, right? In this case, in Resident Evil, what will happen if we don't care about the human rights, if we don't care about this and that, we just pretend, so we give the population this version of the narrative, which is everything is fine and so forth, but behind the scenes, we develop bioengineering devices that will actually give us more power, right? So it's more about power, military, and so forth. While we try to change and take more power and change the society and what we want. So that's the whole idea. What happens here in this narrative, and why is this connected to the biblical aspect? And this is where the conspiracy in the video games. Okay, so in Resident Evil, at least. And perhaps other horror games and other horror movies and gothic novels. The main core idea, for example, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So what's going on? We might think that, okay, so Dr. Frankenstein, when he decided it's more like doing the same thing what the science does, generally speaking, like playing with the unknown, right? So pushing the limits. Well, indeed, there is a risk there. You don't know what you're doing. You experiment this and that, and something can go wrong, which it does in such narratives. And why, if we remember what happened in at the beginning of the 20th century, people didn't believe in all this electricity and like wait, Mary Shelley's. Wow, it's way older than that. Anyway, like the whole idea of the book on Mary Shelley's is the fact that okay, science can be dangerous. The scientists who do experiments, they can actually turn into monsters. Okay, so playing with forbidden knowledge, just like in Adam and Eve, it's something dangerous. Okay, so this is a biblical motive. Okay, don't look where you shouldn't. Don't try to know the good and the bad and so forth. Okay, don't play with what already functions in a way. So, well, scientists were more like those who dare to do what they shouldn't, and for that they got punished because there are consequences. Okay, so if you think of the conspiracy theory in Resident Evil, it is actually not one scientist that does this. We also have the motive of the Dr. Frankenstein here, who turns to be turns himself into a monster, right? So in Mary Shelley's novel, we have the doctor that puts limbs together, and Dr. Frankenstein creates some a sort of a golem, which is Frankenstein the monster, and this monster starts to be conscious, and well, then has to come into the world and realize that it doesn't fit in this world. It's an aberration, and goes to kill its master, its creator, and that's the dialectics that happens in the Gothic novel. What's going on in the conspiracy theories from Resident Evil? We have the Illuminati. Illuminati, they know what they're doing, so they pursue their aims to get more power by challenging, and somehow there is this kind of knowledge that comes from alien sources, because they discover these kind of aliens that they change the humans and so forth. So it's very it's inspired from H.P. Lovecraft as well, all this stuff. But what I mean is, like, the doctor, one of the doctors becomes the monster, so it's more. But this is not the first time when such thing happens. Okay, so people, creators, writers, and so forth, they play with this idea many times. However, it is this thing that the society, the secret society in itself, challenges the moral order, the financial, anything. It challenges everything. It has the power. It does the changes. But what happens is the gods' wrath. Okay, so like in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the experiment, even if they have the full political, economical, military, pharmaceutical control, something goes wrong. So this, you might think like, oh, it's just exactly like the official coronavirus narrative, in the fact that, well, people cut forests and so forth, and they started eating everything around. Well, we got sick. It's just like we challenged something we shouldn't, and we got punished for that as a consequence of our actions, right? Eating bats is bad, people, okay? So if you eat bats, you may expect you'll get something from them. Well, as a species, apparently we are in danger. That's the official account. And of course, you may think about the coronavirus and the virus that turns people into zombies in the game. It's like not the same thing. But the idea is the same. You transgress some borders. If you haven't transgressed these borders, just stay away from bats. Just eat chicken, what your ancestors ate before that. So if you just stay there and don't do this and that, maybe nothing bad will happen, or none of those sorts of things will happen. So it is still the same. And like somehow this narrative, the Gothic that comes from the Gothic literature, right? Mary Shelley and so forth, imposes the idea that, well, and this is derived from the Bible. Ultimately, like if you play with forbidden knowledge, you get punished. Okay, so don't go outside the limits. Okay, so it's just like there is a God out there, those absconditus that actually manages everything. Like, oh, people, this idea in the Bible, because we have the Tower of Babel, and Babel was destroyed by God. Okay, so this is just like the Tower of Babel. Those aliens, that the Illuminati, they do these experiments by modifying the genes around of all these creatures, and finally one of the viruses escapes. And you know their mutations, the monsters, they cannot be kept under control. So nature is still there, very potent. Nature is still there, very powerful. Nature is still there, very wild and savage. And this goes out of control. It goes out of control in the horror narrative. So what's going on is, like, you have to go through hell, because the whole thing, that the process humanity is thrown in, is like the whole humanity is thrown into hell. This is the end of the world, a reiteration of hell. Hell doesn't sit there quietly, underground in the inferno. It's not America anymore. It's the hell unleashed, just like in Hellboy, when hell comes and encompasses the world. This is a destruction of the world. And this requires the direct intervention of the God somehow to stop it, because humans can't stop it anymore. It's unstoppable. So we will see how this will go. Like the American, in order to stop this monster, they nuke the place down. Well, even this doesn't stop them. That's the interesting part with the horror things, because they go irrational, totally irrational. Okay, so the monsters, they escape the control of the physical reality. So in a way, they are pure evil, because they are. They defy the military power. They defy the science, the power of science and knowledge. Like somehow these monsters, the virus itself seems to be intelligent and capable to adapt to whatever the humans try to, or the Illuminati tries to try to do to control them. So the virus in itself, its nature is the savage nature, chaos that comes and like a fractal multiplies. So it is not individual, it's non-human, and it's like it works like the wrath of a god that comes and imposes its punishments upon some sinners. But it's not even that kind of dialectic, is because there is no way to communicate with such things. It just want to, just the desire, the drive is spreading, multiplying, and having power. So that's nature in itself. So I hope that actually this is not a game per se, a game session per se, but I'm gonna just move in the game, which these things being said. Let's continue. Let us continue. Okay. Here we are. I kind of, yeah, I think I put the wheel there. Must be a zombie nearby following me. I have 0 bullets left. Okay, so what I said earlier is the fact that actually in these narratives, oh, baby, she's coming. So you can see here humanity, destroy humanity. You might think like, okay, the police officer is not what it used to be anymore. It turns out into a mindless zombie. Let's pick up something from the locker. Okay, gunpowder and nothing. No, nothing. Yeah. Okay. The guy doesn't have anything. And yeah, I was just saying that, oh, there are many males there. Many males out there, but look, this is a female. In our previous sessions, we talked about zombies, and I said that most of them, they are males and they are aggressive, and this is part of what we identified as being aggressive male characters. But it seems like there are also females, because the virus doesn't care about gender, doesn't care about dialectic between good and bad. Whoa! Okay, it goes down. Let's see if she can run away from this. Yes, she can. That was a leaker. Aside the fact that they have these huge fangs and claws, a leaker is well known for the fact that it has a sharp tongue, and the tongue is actually just like the one described by the Bible, from Apocalypse. So we are having these monsters that are heavily inspired from the narrative of the Apocalypse from the Bible, the Jones Apocalypse. And I forgot to look about the reference right in the book, in the Bible. I just talk from memories now. So it has a tongue like a sword, and it symbolizes the power of speech. Well, this shapes in the form of liquor. The liquor is that monster that doesn't see anything, but has a very sharp hearing sense, and has a very, very long tongue that can be used to kill, and just like a chameleon or something, but sharp. So, okay, this means basically that what's associated in this narrative, what's associated here in Resident Evil 2, the remake, but also in the last Resident Evil, the things that are combined and put together are the religion, okay, and the scientific experiments that transgress the order of morality. Okay, because, well, the monster is the result of scientific experiments. You can imagine, right? There is a monster, the liquor, and what does the monster do? Well, it seems like it's shaped exactly as the Bible would propose. Okay, it looks like a caricature of John's Apocalypse, and this has the effect of the fact that you may think like, oh, okay, so this is by design. Everything is by design. So you may infer that there is a hidden God that you don't interact with it in this game, but okay, wow, yeah, we have to shoot this. It's I don't have bullets anymore, but it's possible to shoot these things. I'm gonna just, oh, no, I will just change. Oh, do I have the no, I don't have a knife. Oh, such a pity I saved the game like that. Okay, so monsters are pure evil in the sense that all the time they defy the logic, they defy the laws of reality, so they are supernatural, and by this they are sacred, right? So imagine that monsters, generally speaking, and they have this dimensions of being fantastic, right? So they don't belong entirely to this world. They are part of something else, and the heroes also should be also part of another type of reality. It's just us that here in Resident Evil we have normal people, and this is the one of the criteria that makes horror genre what it is the fact that the humans are seriously disadvantaged in this battle against the monsters, the evil monsters. So the good characters are humans. They are quite weak. They are fragile. They have psychological troubles, and this goes in the Gothic literature as well as in horror, and also in these video games. This way of building characters is present here, and it's part of the flavor of such a genre. But if you think of the newest Resident Evil games, okay, maybe not the newest, but think about 4, 5, and 6. Even if the characters supposedly are human and they have this kind of human condition and so forth, what's emphasized is the action. So basically they can do all kind of spins and kicks, and they can shoot crazy weapons, and yeah, they just jump from one helicopter to a building to whatever, It's like they even have certain types of superpowers and so forth. Are you listening to me, Claire? Oh, she seems like she's listening to me. Oh, why she looks at me? Oh, is that a conspiracy? No. Let's move on. Anyway, so that's it for now. I will just leave you here. As you can see, this idea. Let's go back. Stars, Raccoon City, and this point. No. What I'm pointing at, all this stuff, it's consciously created in the game. As you can see here, made in heaven. We have an angel here, a sexy angel. Well, it's a lot. I can talk 1 hour about this jacket here. The Rebel jacket and Hell's Angels. Obviously, well, there is maybe a suggestion, because this is a leather jacket. It's a guitar there, so like people who ride motorbikes, they use leather jackets, and people who play the guitar, they ride bikes and they have leather jackets. And well, those might be the Hells Angels or the other groups, and they also represent something which is anarchy, in the sense that they represent freedom, but also the denial of the limits of society. So you have these roguelike characters. Of course, this is her brother's jacket. Okay, the jacket is made in heaven. He's made in heaven too. His name is Chris. Of course, Chris is might be a suggestion about the Christianity of the character, just like Jesus and so forth. Her name is Claire, like the vision. She has a clear vision, right? She's pure, Claire, clear. Okay, so clairvoyant and so forth. She's pure. She has a scepter necklace that symbolizes her purity, and she's the sacrificial lamb, because she wears a red jacket as well. So she's just like the Little Red Riding Hood. There are many things that can be connected and put together here. I believe that who knows what I'm talking about doesn't need to be convinced about this, because it's quite self-obvious. Just read books about it. If you want to read, you can read Noel Carroll's. I read it, at least. I tend to agree to most of its parts. Noel Carroll wrote interpretations about the horror genre in movies and cinema. So I think many things that he discussed about cinema apply on video games as well. And yeah, that's it for today. See each other next time. Oops. All right. So maybe the next time will be quite soon, but I'm gonna stop this now because it seems that I actually didn't play. Okay, what was that? No, I didn't play this session. I just talked about it. Maybe it makes a lot of sense to talk about it, but I'm trying to realize what's going on, if my videos are boring or not, how to make them more interesting, or how to make the videos, how can I present the videos that people can follow my ideas. Because what I do now is, like, I go through the game and I talk about what I understand from the game, from my memories. I'm not even opening my thesis to reread it or something like that. So this is what I thought, what I think now, based on what I thought when I wrote my thesis back in 2012, when I played and analyzed Resident Evil 2 and Silent Hill, and not only 2, but the whole games from the series. All right, I'm gonna just stop the broadcast. Okay, so